What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to talk to you on Lucid, more specifically some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, what the data points are currently saying, and as well, over the last couple of videos, I've been alluding to something that might be coming down the pipeline fairly soon. So I just wanted to kind of explain that. Before I get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with that, let's get right to it. So based on Friday, it did go down 1.38%, a new 52-week and all-time low of $4.25. A little low for volume, so 27.14 million shares being traded, 33 is the average. At the time of doing this video, there hasn't been any real SEC filings or press releases, so it has just been following the broader market and obviously the repercussions of Tesla earnings. Unofficially though, so on social media, they have been posting several things, one of which is the whole Gravity launch, so that is slated for November the 16th, if I remember correctly. But they haven't actually done any launch for the Sapphire. So once again, that could be announced this week. And like I've signaled, I would, if I was Lucid, put it out on October the 31st, because that's more symbolic, because 2 years prior, that is when they actually started to deliver vehicles. So once again, that might be coming down the pipeline fairly soon. As far as data points, Thursday and Friday, those are 2 days to watch for. So GDP on Thursday and then PCE on Friday. And as well, throughout the week, there's roughly around 5 different Fed speakers. So in among itself, that could cause a lot of volatility. Powell is speaking, but I don't believe it's on anything crazy. It's just on policy and stuff like that. But moving on, it is a complete full lineup of companies unveiling their earnings this week. So this week, probably it will be what drives the market higher or lower. So you do have a lot of heavy hitters such as Amazon, you have Microsoft, you have Coke, Google, you have a lot of big names. So again, like I said, that's definitely going to dictate where the market does go. Ford might influence the EV sector a little bit depending on what they do say. They have been struggling in the whole EV sector quite significantly, but once again, you never know what could be coming down the pipeline from what they say. But overall, that's kind of what will most likely dictate where Lucid and the broader market does go, is just the earnings, data points, and maybe the Sapphire launch potentially. As far as data points, starting off with that and options, $831,000 in calls being purchased on Friday versus 1.03 million in puts. And even if we do zoom out over the last 7 days, 8.19 million in calls versus 19 million in puts. So people have been a little bit more bearish on Lucid and we're anticipating for the technicals to break down. So I'll touch on that in a second. As far as specifics though, this is all the calls and looking at the open interest. So it shows all the strike prices, expiry dates. Oddly enough, you can kind of see that market makers did extend a lot of the strike prices. So you do have them going as low as 50 cents. So of course, that's not typically a good sign. That does mean that at least the market makers see it as an option in the least foreseeable future that it could get down to that. So once again, it's not necessarily the best, but if you are optimistic, it is anticipated to go roughly between the $5 and $6 range for this upcoming several weeks. If you are negative and looking at puts, it is anticipated to be sub around 450. So kind of basically where we are at. So like I've signaled over the last couple of videos, I think Lucid has just been getting hit quite hard. And this is why if you look at the puts, people aren't really buying very cheap or low strike prices. But as well, just so you guys all are aware, options activity does not move the stock price. It is just a sentiment. So once again, this is why I am bringing this up. But these are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market over $100,000. So a fair share, you do have one that did happen after hours on Friday for 8.45 million. And based on the bid, the ask, and the selling price, it was a buy. So that's kind of abnormal for a Friday after hours. So clearly an institution saw maybe a rebound in the foreseeable future that might be coming. Who knows? But before I touch on the technicals, I'll go over what shorts are doing. So short score is right now 87, utilization is 95.5. Shorts on Friday did increase around 3.45 million shares, so they really doubled down. And 26.08% of the free float is being shorted. 229.29 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average is going up a little bit higher compared to, I guess, Thursday, so 14.48. And looking at the interactive broker short availability does indicate that there's around 650,000 shares available to be shorted. So Once again, if a lot of this data coming out is negative, more specifically, I guess earnings related and potentially even GDP or the PCE, you are going to see shorts just jump all over that. So once again, just anticipate that shorts are going to really try to hammer Lucid down, because Lucid is kind of staring off of a virtual cliff right now based on the technicals. So with that, let's kind of talk on that for a second. And currently with it trading at $4.28, it is trading between this S3 and this S2. So not necessarily the best. And right now, only the stocks that are really bad financially or just struggling overall are trading within this range. So once again, that's not necessarily the best image for Lucid right now, but like I've signaled, I think this time last weekend when I was kind of going over this upcoming week, I did say that this was kind of the writing on the wall. I was a little bit more optimistic about the Tesla earnings, so I didn't really anticipate that going down how it did, but $4.76 has been that very strong support, and if that didn't hold, it was going to break below that. And so as it stands, $4.19 is that kind of line in the sand, the very strong support. $4.76 is going to be the next strong resistance as it stands. So once again, not necessarily the best. If it does break below this, then we are just going to be following the psychological whole number. So $4, then $3.75, $3.50, and things like that. And once again, a lot of things could go very right this week or very wrong. And I think I keep looking at Amazon. That's going to be the driving factor. That has definitely saved the broader market in the past. So them and Apple. So we'll see if that still follows suit this time around. As far as these two data points, you can tell looking at the momentum indicator, just the number of retail investors are out. They do not want anything to do with Lucid based on the technicals and whatever else. Stochastic is currently at 10, which is considered oversold, but you do see a bearish sentiment right now because Redline is above the black. So as it stands right now, the technicals are not looking the best by any means. So once again, that's going to play an influence going into next week. But if there's a good piece of news or if something unexpected does come out from Lucid, that could really correct a lot of this, because like I said, a lot of this is showing as extremely oversold. Just Lucid needs something, some fundamental reason and justification for it to trend up. So once again, that's kind of going into next week. But like I've signaled though, there might be something coming down the pipeline. And I've kind of touched on this in the past. So ultimately, I think this was done 10 months ago. So a very long time, but I do not want to see $5. That's basically in the title. And what does $5 have to do with anything? Penny stocks. So as crazy as that sounds, if a stock does trade for $5 or lower, it is considered a penny stock. I did see some vague websites out there saying that has to be 10 consecutive business days. That is where obviously this whole threshold comes into play. So right here, so the $5 threshold trading strategy explained. So in here, ultimately, any stock that is considered a penny stock is sometimes too risky for various entities. And when it comes down to Lucid, they have a massive amount of institutions that are investing in it. So obviously a lot of the heavy hitters such as the PIF, Vanguard, BlackRock, Bank of America, and many, many others, as you can kind of see, right? Like tons, like there's a massive amount. And Lucid, I think, very much prides themselves on the huge amount of institutions that are investing in them. So this is why I do feel there might be a reverse stock split in Lucid's foreseeable future. And obviously, Lucid can't just do a reverse stock split as they see fit. They would need to get shareholder approval, so there would be an emergency shareholder meeting just to get one done. But going back over here, if a stock does trade below $5, it's considered a penny stock, and a lot of institutions cannot invest in penny stocks. And what I mean by that, it's usually trust accounts. Some mutual funds have it in their stipulation, in their kind of fine print, that they don't invest in penny stocks. As well, any institutions that are trading on margin cannot invest in penny stocks. So once again, there's a lot of these institutions, I'm sure, are trading Mullen on margin. So if that is the case, that does mean that they would need to essentially sell. So not necessarily, again, the best. And when it comes down to a retail standpoint, it's not that big of a deal. Although for those of you that are trading on margin, similarly, you can technically still trade it on margin for retail investors. but the percentage has been lowered if it does trade below $5. So once again, there's a small little influence when it comes down to that. And I've been investing for a while, like I said, since roughly around 2009-ish. And I remember seeing this. So when Bank of America was actually briefly trading below $5, I think it touched there for about 2 or 3 days. Like, this was a big deal. This was on almost every news. So you can see it came out December 19th, 2011. So a lot of fear was associated to that, because imagine all the institutions that invest in Bank of America. And at that time, they were wondering what to do. Like, should we do a reverse stock split? Like, what would happen if we trade below $5, considered themselves a penny stock, and have all the institutions just have to sell some of their position as a result of that? It would have been detrimental on the broader market. Luckily enough, the stock price just corrected itself naturally, so nothing really had to come from that, so no reverse stock split or whatever else. But in Lucid's case, on the downtrend and how everything is right now, I don't know if Lucid will be lucky enough to trade above $5 naturally. You never know, I could be wrong. And so far though, it's been about 3 consecutive days it being below that $5 mark. So once again, they might not actually do anything. They might not do a reverse stock split, just let the stock do what it sees fit. And if any institutions have to sell out as a result of that, then so be it. So that might be a similar scenario that does happen. Or potentially they might do a reverse stock split. Another similar stock that did at least get a approval on a reverse stock split was 𝗖𝗧. Luckily enough, they never really traded below that kind of threshold level for 10 consecutive days, so they never really needed to do a reverse stock split. But once again, this is still a very real scenario that a lot of companies do need to realize. This might be coming down the pipeline or it might not be. Just stay tuned for that. And when it comes down to it, you'll just have to watch the latest round of 13Fs to see what institutions have been doing. But obviously we are now in Q4, so you'd have to wait until probably like January, February, or late February to kind of see exactly what a lot of institutions have been doing during Q4. So once again, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And one final thing I just wanted to share with you, take advantage of this promo. It's just been extended up until November the 30th. Just sign up for an account with Moo, throw $100 at it, and you get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. So take advantage of this. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all of that said, I appreciate all of you watching.